This is Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We're broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios and brought to you by Extreme Exteriors. It's time now for a message from the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. This MHA Minute is brought to you by Pest Control Services. When you need an exterminator, you want someone reliable and effective. Give Greg Keener a call at Pest Control Services. That's 952-894-9748. Pest Control Services is a proud member of Angie's List and a member of the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. Pest Control Services, 952-894-9748. Tell Greg that Gene and Tony sent you. Let's look at the MHA calendar for September and find out what they're offering. On September 15th, they're offering the boiler exam preparation class. If you maintain a multi-unit building that has hot water heat, you have to be licensed. This class will prepare you to take that licensing test. On September 20th, in the evening, the Investors Club will be held. Their topic is legislative updates, and that's going to be led by Todd Liljenquist, who's the Director of Government Relations, and Lisa Peelan, who's the Director of Municipal Affairs for the Multi-Housing Association. If you're a landlord, you do not want to miss this. This is always a popular topic. Get up to date on what the legislation is, what legislation now requires. On September 21st, CIC Lunch and Learn will be held. That's specifically for homeowner associations, and the topic is effective collections and presented by Phaedra Howard of Helmuth and Johnson. Good events being held in September. If you have any questions, you want to register, call 952-854-8500. So what are we on to next, Gene?
Well, we're going to be talking about this case, and it's interesting. We all know that, as I mentioned before, board members are protected under a homeowners association, D&O, which means directors and officers insurance, on claims made against them. They are also directors and officers generally are protected under what's considered the corporate shield. In this particular case, we have something in Illinois where specific homeowners want to have those former board members removed from that protection and involved and want to bring them up in a lawsuit. Mm-hmm. Well, anytime we need something answered here, we go to the professionals that we can trust.
The experts.
That's right. We're happy to have on the line with us here this morning one of the principals of Helmuth and Johnson, David Helmuth. David, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Gene. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for taking some time to be on the show here today.
I'm happy to help.
Now, we had a chance to send this story to you ahead of time, and we'd love to get your thoughts on this. For our listeners, David, maybe just explain a little bit about what it is that board members typically have in protection with the corporation and with insurance with Homeowners Association.
Yeah, that's a good starting point, Gene, and I think you alluded to a couple of those protections. You know, number one, most associations and corporations have insurance coverage, directors and officers liability coverage. It's a wise practice to have that in place. Number two, they are protected by the business judgment rule and Minnesota statutes that pertain to corporate governance and generally holding that they're not responsible for acts in good faith that are done on behalf of the corporation. And there's also a federal law for volunteer board members, and that's called the Volunteer Protection Act. And that's a relatively recent federal legislation which would also protect volunteers who are unpaid directors, and that is to encourage people to serve on volunteer boards of directors.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because there's very good reasons for these protections. It's not just that someone's trying to hide behind the law. It's because board members are going to have a hard time making decisions and taking action if they can be sued every time they turn around, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and that's one of the reasons for the business judgment rule is, you know, as long as the board members are acting in the best interests of the organization, they are given great deference under the law to proceed in such a manner, and not to be held personally liable for the actions of the corporation.
Yeah. Now, in this particular case, what's interesting, there is something that is referred to as a derivative claim. What is a derivative claim?
Well, a derivative claim and typically a derivative claim relates to a corporate structure, but a derivative claim is a claim brought on behalf of a corporation against a third party. And typically, when they're talking about a derivative claim, it's a claim where the shareholders are involved in that, and they want to force the corporation to take action to right a wrong that negatively affected the shareholders, and they want to do so on behalf of the corporation.
So this is something that is only afforded those who are a shareholder to be able to bring action against someone on the board because they feel the board is not acting accordingly, I guess.
Yeah, correct. And they're doing so purportedly on behalf of the corporation, and bringing that on behalf of the corporation against members of the board of directors.
It kind of sounds like the corporation is trying to sue itself, or am I missing the point?
Well, the corporation is actually trying to sue the individual board
individuals. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's a claim. It's a claim by a corporation against third parties who engage in some.
Okay. Wrong. So these board members are the third parties, and they're being sued individually.
So in essence,
Correct.
when this takes place, then, David, does this remove that board member or director from protection then from the corporation, or being able to use the D&O insurance for that organization?
I believe that the D&O coverage would still be in effect,
okay.
And most likely this particular case that you sent me, most likely the D&O directors and officers liability carrier is defending the board members who are being sued in that case, and this is probably a good time to talk about the case and what this case is about.
Okay.
The case that you sent me prior to the call is called Davis versus Dyson, Dyson, and it's an Illinois Court of Appeals case, First District Court of Appeals case. And the facts in the case are...
excuse me, David, if you could hold on to that. We're coming up to a hard break, and we will give you a lot more time here to talk about the facts of the case, but we've got a break for these messages. Folks, you're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony on AM 1280 The Patriot. We'll be back after this.
How sweet